Good morning. This is Ron Campbell, the inventor of the posture cane and Campbell handle technology and biomechanics. Everything has a start. It starts, it evolves, and then it becomes a revolution. Well, this is what happened with us. This thing right here was back in the 70s, was the first cane that I made. I didn't even know that it was actually a transitional assisted device, because everything we're seeing right now pretty much for people starting out with the canes, which you need them. The doctors want you to take pressure off a joint. But you'll notice in my left hand that you've got pressure in your wrist, in your shoulder, and in your arm. And also there's a pivot point in terms of one point. What I try to do when I saw a person bend over was come up with something new and make some changes and hopefully make people live longer and healthier. So this kind of evolved here on the first one. This is the first one I made in the 70s, believe it or not. I still have it. It actually works in the biomechanics that I've been working and designing with for now, it'll be as of next year, almost 50 years. So you can see what happens now. I'm more at a 90-degree angle. My wrist is slightly forward, just because of the cut in the angle. This is the original Campbell handle. Takes the pressure off your shoulder, tightens your tricep muscle, takes the pressure off your wrist. Now this is all coming from doctors. Now what's happening now is that it's evolving into something that's much bigger. Years later, and testing and working with about every medical modality known to man, nurses actually were the ones that first discovered. You said, you've got to figure out a way to make these and get them out to the public because it really does work. An engineer said, you're not really a cane, you're a transitional device. So what we did was we started working on the original posture cane. Now, in the back there, you'll see a rollator, but you won't see the handles like that. They're more coming out like this and down, so it's more the function of a regular cane and not a transitional device. Now, in the last few years, quite a few years, I've actually changed these over to hundreds of people where I've converted these from down up to up, going into our biomechanics. This is something for many of the ones that are out there, you can do this to it, but it's also adopting something I designed and own, the biomechanics and technology that's behind the Campbell handle, and the whole idea is a complete revolution of changing a mindset from a cane, transcending from what you need into the next thing, which is a TAD, transitional assisted device. This went on the market about 5 years ago. Then COVID came down, and there were literally millions of these were sold all over the world. I didn't make them, but that's okay. So we literally helped millions of people, and now people understand, and now it's becoming more of a revolution where people are understanding how the biomechanics works. But what we're doing is we're turning this into a revolution because we're taking and changing other devices like the simple rollator walker into this. That new one that's right here, that's a prototype. Using the same biomechanics, this will take somebody in the 5-foot range all the way up to 6'6". We tested on one gentleman, but this gives you a little bit better view of it. This is only part of the stuff we're working on. We're working on transporters. We incidentally have patents on these in both the US and in China to protect from the manufacturing side too, to make sure that the quality of all the products we're involved with are safe for people to use. We've learned this too, which is kind of interesting, and it's actually the testing is going to be going on shortly. They refused to release the first shipment of these when they came over because we didn't give a weight factor. And when you take a regular cane, they want to know how much weight it's going to be. Is it going to be 150, 200, 300 pounds, or whatever it is? Well, the engineer there said, we can't do that because you only use 30% of the body weight. Well, they weren't willing to put that in writing. So what we're doing now, we're having testing facilities that are going to check this and prove the fact that this does not use all of your body weight and only a percentage of it, which is huge because it takes the pressure off your shoulder, off your wrist, people with shoulder issues, with carpal tunnel and other things, and transfers to the tricep muscle for anybody like this. There are a whole bunch of things that we're learning that we're evolving into. But this little revolution, I guess, is really getting kind of out of hand because there's some big guys that are really interested in what we're doing. The doctors are saying, you get them out there and we will take and prescribe them to the people, because they told me, this is from the medical people, not from me, 80% of the people who are using canes currently are using the wrong biomechanics, and they said, you're the first one to come up in hundreds of years to change that whole biomechanics and technology. And an engineer, when he saw it, he said, Ron, he said, When I showed him the wooden one that I made, one of these right here, he said, sorry about the crack. This is not a cane. He said, this is a completely different assistive device. You completely redesigned it. I said, what do you mean? He said, you changed the line of sight. I work in factories where people get hurt. And he said, you changed the line of sight. You changed everything with regards to balance and stability. And I said, I didn't know what it was. So I called a doctor friend, Dr. Andy Candelori, and I said, Andy, if you change your line of sight from horizontal to the ground to floor, do you lose the function of your inner ear? He said, Ron, you're going to a medical convention with me. I went to a medical convention, and 5 doctors approached me and said, we want you to go to the national convention and show them what you're working on. We really feel that this is something that everybody needs to know about. So we did that. And then the doctors have said the same thing. Nurses are the original ones, too, that pushed me on this to do this. And it took a lot. And I've had a lot of encouragement from the medical community, from family, from friends, and other people who tested them. Even new stuff and new testing that we're doing some. Anyway, I got a whole bunch of other stuff I'll share with you later. But the whole idea now is that what we're learning is that this device is so important to making people safer. Listen, I'm 81 years old. I've fallen down a couple times. But I learned from an old karate teacher, when you fall, use your hand, slap it down, and don't whack your head, which is not so good. 15% of the people in our age that fall end up being a fatal incident. And that's just the way that it is. We can't help that. That's just, unfortunately some people this happens to. Well, the new tip I'm working on now, the Flexa tip, is going to cut that down, we think, at least another 15, 20%, we're hoping. And this thing has 360 degrees optimal traction. We're also working on for trekking poles. They've been tested by professional hikers. From an old friend that's hiked for 50 years that said, thumbs up, they're really good. Right now, in Austria, Innsbruck, Austria, there's a gentleman now that really wants to get these going because he really believes in them. And there's a Korean gentleman, an old friend from med trade shows and stuff, that is actually moving back to Korea and wants to set up total distribution with regards to products we're working on. This one here, the prototypes are being made on revision, well, based on some people here in Sun City Center where we live that told us, can you get some handles on there to help getting out of them? I said, let me check with them. So the manufacturers have already figured that out. We've got the designs done. They're working on the prototypes that are coming. And the other thing we're doing too is I redesigned a transporter to use our same biomechanics, because an occupational therapist, Carrie Murphy up in Myrtle Beach, she said, can you do something for the caregivers? So we're thinking, all right, let's think about that. We completely redesigned the handles that are going to end up eventually on wheelchairs. They're going to be on a transporter. It'll be the first one coming out that I'll do a video on. And so that they'll work on the same biomechanics, because we're finding out that the caregivers will end up having workers' comp cases, hurting their back and stuff. And the minute you take and use this biomechanics, like on this one behind me, if I can pull it around here, it changes everything. It changes it so it forces you to walk more erect. It's better for your back, and also much nicer probably for the person that's sitting in it you're pushing around, because if you're happy, they're happy, okay? Anyway, this is just the beginning. I mean, we're working on new handles, new designs, intermediate things. I made some of these right here in brass from India and did the things. I actually end up donating these to Africa. I work with Crutches for Africa for years, and we've donated probably well over $100,000 worth of products and prototypes and stuff like that we were not ready for, or the people we were helping design it for, they weren't ready for them either, so we just donated them all. I mean, I understand right now Nigeria's got about 800 of some prototypes that I've got, and I was really pleased to hear that. This is just the beginning of the story, but I start off with the things like working with wood, trying to figure out what the designs are going to be. Working on prototype handles in terms of how we're going to do these and make this thing work. This is a very complicated process, but I've been working on this for almost 50 years, okay? Anyway, that's it for today, but I just want to give you an idea. We're working on literally a revolution that's going to change the way and hopefully make people live longer, be safer, less apt to have slip and falls, and then generally just be happy. And at almost 81 years old, I'm thinking, this is my gift to you, my friends, okay? And happy 50th to me coming up in terms of how long we've been working on this.